Hi everyone,
Hello.
welcome to the Understanding and Managing Emotions webinar for teens. I'm Eleni and I'm one of the clinicians in the team. My background is in psychotherapy.
Hi everyone. My name is Vanna. I am a counseling psychologist, and me and Eleni, we work in the First Steps. We're an early intervention service, and thank you so much for coming to our webinar today. Hope you enjoy it.
So we want to let you know that you won't be able to see each other, so your camera and your sound functions are disabled, but you can use the chat function to send questions or anything else that you want to let us know, and we will discuss it. And also to let you know that the webinar is being recorded, so that young people that couldn't attend can have access to it, but also if you want to have a look at it after our presentation, we can send it to you.
Thank you, Eleni. So I'm just gonna briefly mention the aims for today, just for you to have an idea of what will happen. So this webinar is about understanding our emotions and our experiences. So we're going to learn about our emotions, where they come from, how we feel in our body when we feel them. We're not going to ask you to reveal anything about your personal experiences, but of course, only if you want, you can raise your hand or you can put something in the chat, but there is no pressure for you. During the webinar, we might ask you to try out some exercises and some new strategies we're going to talk about, and that will only be for you to practice. And if any questions come on the way, just to ask us, since we are here to talk with you. So we will also suggest, and as I said, talk about new strategies. Some of them you may know, most of them, but if not, maybe it will be a good way to expand your horizons and learn something about them. Yes, so as I said before, feel free to raise your hand or put anything you want in the chat.
So we'll have a couple of slides with some general theory and information about emotions, and then we'll have some ideas around strategies like Vanna said. So starting with what feelings are. We know that they can be short or they can be long. The short feelings are usually the most intense feelings. They're quite easy to notice. For example, an anxiety attack or anger or frustration. And something that can be helpful to remember is that they might feel a bit too powerful, like the wave in our picture, but actually they only last up to 25 minutes. So it might be quite intense, but I feel like it's reassuring to remember that it won't last forever. It will eventually go away. Longer feelings are more persistent. They can be hard to identify, and they can be confusing as well. So for example, a longer persistent feeling can be low mood, or feelings about who we are and our identity. Of course, as we all know, emotions can be quite complex and difficult to understand. And what is even more difficult is to communicate what we're feeling to other people. And one of the reasons why that is because what we feel inside and what other people see from our behavior that is happening to us can be quite different. So how our feelings manifest on the outside and on the inside might not be matching. We can have mixed feelings about things, which can be extra confusing. And also there can be a lot of different shades to a feeling. So it's not just anger, for example, but we can also feel irritated, frustrated, and sometimes there can be rage. Can we move on to the next one? Thank you. So an important part of understanding our emotions is learning a bit about where they come from. So what we know about emotions is that they have been with us for a very long time, from the beginning, since when the first people were around. And we know from evolution that they come from one of the most ancient parts of the brain, which is the limbic system, and particularly the amygdala. The amygdala is the part of the brain that protects us from threats, and it is extremely necessary for our survival.
Eleni?
So emotions can be seen as signals for some of our basic needs. Survival, like we said, but also feeling the reward. Do us have had the same by natural selection? Yes? Oh, did we lose you for a bit?
Oh yeah,
or did you
sorry.
lose me?
I'm here. I think I lost you, but who knows? I'm back now.
That's fine. Maybe
sorry,
I can
yes,
say what I was talking about. Can you hear me now?
Yes,
yeah.
Yes, I can.
So what I was saying was that that emotions can be seen as signals for some of our basic needs, and particularly for our survival. They can guide us like a compass, and they have been around for generations. That's why we say that they are adaptive. They are shaped by natural selection, and they change with time so that they continue to be effective for us as the world changes around us. So maybe emotions were slightly different or in a different form between now, when we live in very complex societies with a lot of different things happening around us and with a lot of people, compared to maybe when the cave people were around and they mainly needed to survive. They hadn't developed very intricate ways of communication. We can move on, I think. So that we understand what we're trying to explain a bit more, with some main functions for our emotions. So a very big one, like I've mentioned already, is to promote survival. An example so that we understand this could be, if I have to walk down on a dark road, it is important that I get scared so that I know to be careful and to try to be as quick as I can. Maybe I can think of calling someone for company. And if I try to do all of these things, it is more likely that I will stay safe. So in that specific situation, getting scared, even though of course uncomfortable and annoying, sometimes of course even distressing, it can be really useful. Another function that our emotions have is to motivate us to do things and to learn. And that's a very important one as well, I think. So we all know that when we have to prepare for a test, it is very likely we're going to get nervous. And as annoying as that can be, it is also quite helpful, because if I do get nervous, I understand that this is quite important to me. So it is more likely that I'm going to be motivated to study. And because of that, I will probably do more learning and I will potentially do well in my test. Another function of our feelings is to be able to communicate how we are feeling and our state of mind to other people. And that usually goes with building and maintaining relationships. For example, if I have said something harsh to my friend and I start feeling guilty, of course, that is not going to be an extremely positive emotion, but actually it's going to make it more likely that I will apologize and I will make up with my friend and we will stay friends. And finally, thinking about not only what we share with others, but also being able to understand things ourselves. And that has to do a lot more with the more complex feelings and the ones that can last quite long. So if, for example, I start feeling sad all of a sudden, it might be an indication that something in my life is not going okay. So this will be a sign that I need to think about what is going on around me. Maybe there's a friend that has said something that brought me down. and I have started understanding that maybe they're not such a good friend as I thought that they were. Or it might be that things are very, very stressful around me and I need to understand that I need to take a break. So all of these examples hopefully gave us a bit more of an idea about why having certain emotions can feel quite uncomfortable, but also they are useful in some ways. And moving on to the next slide, what we are going to see is an example of a specific emotion, and anxiety, which is something that none of us likes. Hopefully this video is going to help us learn a bit more about why it has been around and how it can help us. So if Vana, if you can help me with,
yes,
so I can show my screen and share this video. Can you see the video page?
I can.
Yeah, okay.
You know what anxiety feels like. We all do. Everyone experiences anxiety in some way or another. It's something that connects all of us together. Why we feel anxiety and what it really is, that may surprise you. Without anxiety, we'd all be in serious trouble. As soon as your brain senses you're in danger, a little piece of it, called the amygdala, kicks in. It gets your body ready to react. That could mean fight, run away, or shut down. It's called the fight, flight, or freeze response. This reaction goes back millions of years to our distant animal ancestors. Animals whose amygdalae were more sensitive to danger were more likely to stay alive and off the menu. Over millions of generations, this developed into the system we all know as anxiety. So you see, anxiety itself is not all bad. But when there's no immediate life or death threat, and your amygdala keeps telling your body that you're in danger, that's when anxiety becomes a problem. Your amygdala doesn't know the difference between getting eaten and public speaking or failing a test. Human society has only existed for a relatively short time. It's messy and complicated and confusing, and our amygdalae just haven't had time to catch up. So sometimes, when we're in uncomfortable situations, our brains misread the risk and overreact. Our hearts beat faster and we breathe heavily, pulling more oxygen into our bodies. The muscles in our arms and legs tense up and fill with blood. Our skin perspires to cool us down. This would all be great if we needed to fight or run, but instead, we just feel tense and sweaty. Sometimes our minds go blank and we feel like we can't move or talk. That would be great if we needed to hide. Instead, we just feel stuck. When things trigger our anxiety, sometimes we try to avoid them, like our ancestors avoiding a predator. But that can cause problems when those triggers are important parts of life, like going to school or meeting new people, things that won't just give up and go away. So how does knowing all this help? Well, it starts with remembering what's really going on. There's nothing physically wrong with you. It's just your amygdala trying to tell you it thinks you're in danger, even if it gets confused about how much danger you're really in. Understanding why we feel anxiety is an important step in learning to manage it.
Thank you, Eleni.
Thank you. So what I guess I understood from the video that feels quite important is that even though anxiety can feel extremely distressing at times, actually it is normal and it has been designed to be helpful. Anxiety is our fight, flight and freeze response, which is a reaction to something that we perceive as danger. And of course, things like a really, really small spider that we see, or worrying about an exam, or worrying about what other people think of us is not the same as a tiger or a bear that is actually quite possibly might kill us. But it does feel like the same amount of danger, and we can think about all of these types of situations as false alarms that activate all of these mechanisms and lead to us getting sweaty and our breathing changing and all of these very uncomfortable things. But what we also learned from the video, I think, is that even though anxiety is extremely uncomfortable and can be very distressing, it actually shouldn't disappear, because if it does, then we will be very vulnerable to a lot of different types of dangers. And if we don't get activated when we get anxious, then we might be in real danger. So the most important thing is for all of us to work on understanding our anxiety and our emotions in general, learning what techniques help us to manage it instead. So I guess moving on, it's not only anxiety. Sorry, go back. Thank you. It's not only anxiety. It's not only with anxiety that all of these things apply. It is also with all other emotions that can show up in situations where they don't always feel helpful and wanted. So these are emotions that usually we would call negative emotions. And all of this pain and the negative feelings can feel horrible, like we said, but we need to know that they do happen. We cannot avoid them. And this is a normal process that happens to all of us and has been happening for a very, very long time. For people that joined us now, I think a couple of you joined us a bit later on, we have started with thinking about why we have emotions and some main functions, so that then we can move on to some ideas about things to try, so that we can be able to manage the strong emotions. Can we move on to the next one? Thank you. So one of the big steps when we are thinking about how to manage our emotions is to be able to understand them. And looking at our feelings a bit more closely can help us feel connected to what is happening, and it can allow us to start to make sense of our emotions. Then we can think about how to manage them with specific strategies. So looking at our feelings closely and trying to make connections is something that we try to do in therapy. So we often have those types of conversations and we try to understand a lot of details, how things are connected, and understand patterns. And even though this is very, very helpful, also we have seen that sometimes if we keep doing it on our own, so if we keep worrying and really trying to think about the situation that has happened, what we could have done differently, and we spend a lot of time on this, it can feel quite exhausting and it can feel like we can get really stuck. So even though this is a very important thing to be able to do, to be reflective and to take a minute to understand what is going on in our life, also we need to be mindful not to overdo it and get really stuck in our heads and stop living our lives instead. Thank you. So something that we thought about was to start having a conversation about how maybe these patterns come to be. And what we have seen is that when a situation arises, whether it is pleasant or not, we start seeing that we start having specific thoughts about it, feelings and emotions, bodily reactions, and they are usually linked to what we do to respond to these situations. So a kind of cycle with these four areas, our thoughts, our feelings, feelings in our body and our behaviors gets created. And when these patterns start emerging, they're not always very easy to break or for us to notice them. And we tried to create an example that I think all of us have experienced. And our example is in that situation, if a teacher tells you off for something that you didn't do, then you may start feeling angry and upset. So these would be examples of how you might be feeling. You might start feeling in your body that your muscles are tensing up. You're getting faster heart rate and all of these types of things. And in that situation, you may think that what is happening is unfair, or that the teacher doesn't like you, which most of us would automatically think. And all of these thoughts and feelings make it difficult to stay calm, of course. So you might end up running away or yelling at the teacher that you feel has wronged you. So this is something that might happen. But if you stop to think about what actually happened, you can see that how you reacted was very understandable. Most people would end up doing something similar, but also yelling at the teacher can lead to getting in trouble, which most of us don't like, being in trouble. So looking back at this cycle of the 4 areas can help us think about what maybe we could have done differently. And some of these examples could be to ask for a break when we start to get angry, to ask to speak to the teacher during the break after we have calmed down, to discuss with our head of year or with a parent how unfair it felt, or maybe thinking about why the teacher may have told us off, other than the possibility that they might not like us. So we can use then the 4 areas, these cycles, to see that we can't change the box of our feelings. It's not possible to say, I will stop being angry now and that's it. But maybe what we can try to do is we can try to think about, is it possible that the thoughts that we had maybe were not representative of what the other person was thinking? Or maybe, is there anything that I could do differently next time if something similar happens? Or should I ask somebody else to help me with that? Or maybe, do I know that somebody else should have done something differently? And then think about how to say that to them in a way that they would be more receptive to our message. So we can use examples like that from our everyday life to try to understand what our emotions are trying to tell us about our life, and to find ways of responding to those emotions in a way that makes our life easier, actually, and not harder. So soon after something happens that might lead to strong emotions, we can take some time and think about what our thoughts were when this happened, how we felt, what we did, and if it actually helped. And this can help us understand what is going on. So we can try out an exercise together with some help from Varna, so that we can practice this together.
Yes, so thank you, Eleni. It's very interesting to hear how all these areas are linked. Sometimes it's very hard to understand why we feel the way we do. So I have an exercise for you. So we're gonna just practice an example. But first you can run and take a piece of paper, or you can use your phones to make some notes if you want. You can even just think about it. You can even take that and think about it after the webinar with someone close to you. But we are going to talk about the scenario about our first day back to school, which I think could be a very recent experience for most of you, or for all of you. So I'm going to ask you some questions. Because of course we made here an example about how or what people might think on that day, but I would prefer you to think your own experience and just write down what has happened on your first day back to school. So I'm not sure if you've got the paper right in front of you, or you've got your phones out, or you're just going to think about it. So I'm just going to ask the question and give you some seconds, because if you're typing, I assume you're really fast typing. So I'm going to ask you the first question, which is, what were your thoughts when you first walked into school? Was it something specific or not? The next question is, how were you feeling in your body when you went back to school on that day, or the first days? Did you notice something specific, like any tense, or maybe even nothing? The third question is, what did you do, or did you do anything to help you feel better if you felt a bit uncomfortable, or was it something that made things worse for you at that point? And the last question, no, actually, it's not the last question. What could you or someone else have done differently so that it could have been an easier experience for you? So what could you or someone else have done differently to help you? And this is the last one. What can you learn from this experience for your future, and maybe for your first day back at school next year, or any similar experience you might have? What can you learn? What can you take away from this experience, maybe for even thinking about it now? And of course, as you can see, my questions are around what Eleni described before, around your thoughts, around your feelings. What did you feel in your body? What was it for you? Did you feel nauseous or no energy, maybe even excited? And what did you do when you were that first day back at school? I hope I gave you enough time, or I hope that some of you or most of you did the exercise, but I do invite you to take this exercise maybe after the webinar, or a day where you feel you can actually do it. You can even do it as a game with someone else if they want to join. I don't know, Eleni, if you have anything to add, you're more than welcome.
No, only I think something also that can be quite interesting is if we do the exercise a couple of times, then we might end up noticing that often we have quite similar thoughts, and we might end up seeing that certain things or certain situations can be really important to us and they can bring up really strong feelings, and then focusing on ways of thinking about things slightly more logically, challenging ourselves and thinking whether this is something that is really going to matter to us in the future, or even more easily thinking about what we did and what it is that we could try a bit differently might actually really help us with understanding what is going on for us and feeling a bit better in the future. So you can use that exercise if you want to, and usually writing things down feels a lot more helpful. So in our next slide, we are going to think about maybe what we have been, a summary maybe of what we have talked about so far, some remarks to keep in mind before we move on to some ideas about strategies. So what we have been saying and trying to explain is that we know that we can't really help what we feel, we can't change our emotions, but we can have some control over how we respond to our emotions, so our behaviors and the things that we do. And we shouldn't have to apologize for what we're feeling, but sometimes because of our feelings, we might end up doing something that we feel we shouldn't have done, or other people feel like we shouldn't have done. And we can apologize for that. And we can try to explain why we reacted the way that we did. Because like we said earlier, our feelings and how we experience them inside and what other people see can be different quite often. So for example, I might actually be really, really sad or really anxious, and somebody asks me something and I get really snappy and I look irritable. So somebody might think I'm angry or I am irritated by something and I don't have any patience. Well, actually I'm feeling low and I don't know what to do with what is happening. And like we said, we can't change our emotions, but what we can do is we can try to understand them, and we can also try to have some ideas about strategies we can use to manage them, have them ready in our minds as examples, and access them when those difficult feelings do rise and we need our strategies to feel better. So the key messages for our theory part was that we all have emotions. They can bear important messages, and it is important to understand them and not ignore them. It is very difficult, if not impossible, to control our emotions. And what we can do is we can focus on the way that we respond to them.
Thank you, Eleni. Okay, so hope you're all ready. We're going to move to our next part of the webinar, and the last part of it would be the strategies, our toolbox, and how do we manage these big and overwhelming emotions. So I do invite you again to share what strategies you have found that they're helpful when, you know, with difficult emotions or difficult situations. And I think I'm inviting you to write down. I mean, you can put something in the chat because it's very, very important to us and very interesting to see, you know, if there are any strategies that you follow that we are not aware of, or maybe other people can take some ideas away. Don't worry if not, it's just a suggestion. So I'm going to, I don't know if anyone is putting any messages in the chat. Should I wait? I will move on. So
if I see anything
will,
on the chat,
yes.
let me know.
Thank you, Eleni. So the first one is to I guess to know and talk about self-regulation. I don't know if you all know this, what this word mean, which is being aware of what we feel and I guess what stage our feelings are in. As you can see, this is a thermometer, so you can see that it goes from 1 to 10, and we start from being okay, for being good, to being maybe a bit sad or upset or worried or really, really sad. And then when we feel really, really red and really, really angry and upset, when that goes up to 10. So I guess this tool is to help us put a name to our feelings, and it's quite a scale to recognize and understand what is the rate of our feelings, like how intense are our feelings at this moment. I don't know if you know, but as you can see, we've got some colors next to some of the feelings and the emotional state you might be in. And sometimes we use them just as a guide, I guess, for the right strategies in every stage, which I will speak very, very soon. I'm going to start from the bottom of this scale, as you can see. So I'm going to start what we do when we feel quite green, when we are in the green zone, which means that we feel a bit more calm and relaxed, and we feel just okay, you know, nothing's going on. And this is the green zone, where we feel that we feel in the right state, I guess, to look after our well-being. And these strategies really can prevent us from becoming very, very overwhelmed. And when things are tough, we can just get some help doing them, and we can get some more energy, or we can just learn what to do when tough times come. So I think you can all see quite clearly. We put some things together, like getting moving by doing some exercise. If you're feeling tired, you can have an early night, spend time with a pet, you can meditate, you can listen to your favorite music, have a shower, have a bath, whatever you think, because we're all different, we like different things. So whatever you think, it's something that can distract you a bit and make you calm and relaxed at the same time, go away and do it. And this is the best, I guess, stage and the best zone to do, because you get, I guess, familiarize yourselves with what these strategies are. I mean, we call them strategies, but they're just activities that you can do, activities you like, you can do on your own, and you can do with someone that's very close to you or your friends. So
do you have a favorite
this
one?
is, Me? Yes, I like spending time with my pets. What about you?
I really like audiobooks because then you can listen to something when you're doing other things and when you're going for a walk. And I think that those, like exactly like you said, they are not things that we necessarily need to do when we are getting overwhelmed, but these are things that we need to identify really helpful for us in general, make sure that we find time for them every day even, because looking after our well-being is a long-term thing. It's not only about, oh, this is a crisis, I need to do something. It's about taking care of ourselves in general. So audiobooks for me.
Yeah, okay. Thanks, Eleni, for sharing. Yes, so I'm not sure if if you all know what mindfulness is I guess how you can be present on here and now, like if you can focus your mind, your heart and your body to what is happening around you rather than thinking about the past and about the future. And I think mindfulness it is quite a strategy to follow as well when you feel calm, and it's all about practicing. Sometimes it's hard to start doing something, but the more you do it, maybe the more you will like it, the more you will know how to do it and when to do it. And as you can see, we've got some apps there that you can try, like Mindshift and Calm and Headspace. And I think all of them are free, if I'm not mistaken. So you can download them on your phone and just have a go. Yes, I'm just going to move on. So what happens when things escalate a bit and we start to feel a bit overwhelmed with our feelings? I'm going to introduce you to TIP, which is temperature, intense exercise, and paced breathing. I guess it's how can we use our body for our benefits when we feel very strong and uneasy feelings. So we've got temperature. What can we do with temperature? We can splash cold water on our face. We can put our face in a cold bowl of water, not freezing though. We can hold an ice pack or something frozen, like frozen vegetables, and put them on our face. And we can hold ice cubes for some seconds. I don't know if you've ever tried any of those, but they're very, very useful in case you like, I guess, water, and even if you don't like, you can try it and you can see how that can even bring you on the here and now, and you can see how your body will react to the different temperature. So moving on the tip, we've got the intense exercise. As you can see here, we know that research shows that one way to cope with our strong emotion is just doing intense exercise. I don't know if you already are doing any exercise or if you like sports, like running, fast cycling, dancing. And of course, we've got the HIIT. I don't know if you know that as well. It's, I guess, an intensive interval training. And I mean, it's high intensity, but you can always have a look and see what it is. And I mean, researchers have shown that it can increase your brain function and how you feel. And here is a video. There is someone that they're showing this workout for beginners, and I mean it's 20 minutes. We're not going to watch it now, but in the end of the webinar we will send out some resources and some handouts, and we can include these so you can have a look on how you can practice on your own or with someone you feel comfortable with. I'm going to move to paced breathing, which is breathing, and you can exercise some breathing techniques if you can find a cool and quiet room where you will not be disturbed. by wearing some comfortable clothes that you maybe loose or you feel very, very comfortable with. You can lie down or sit comfortable with your legs uncrossed, or any other posture that you feel you can be in it for some time. And you pay attention to your level of relaxation before and after the exercise. I mean, before and after you do the breathing, just to notice if there's something that helped you, and if it was what that was, maybe just sitting down still, or maybe just the breathing itself. So about the breathing, this is, I guess, an exercise that you can try. Let me see, I'm not going to read it. I guess it's a very easy exercise for beginners that we all can do. We can do it wherever we are. And it's about breathing slowly, having some quiet time, and repeat your breathing. Here it says for 10 times, for example. You can do that twice a day or once a day. You can choose when you want to do it throughout the day. It's your choice. And I mean, yes, try it. Sometimes it's really helpful. I know that actually we will do some breathing in a bit. So yay, there it is. So we will do an exercise. We will need to use your hands. I don't know if you would want to or not, but I do invite you to try it. I mean, I'm here doing it with Eleni and with you. We don't even, we can't even see you, and we're here doing it. So, you may as well do it where you are. So the exercise is for you to stretch your hand out like a star, as you can see the little hand on the screen. You get your index finger ready to trace your fingers up and down, and you will slide your finger up and then down. And while you do that, you will breathe in your nose and out through your mouth.
Yes.
So you will breathe in.
So we're sliding up and we breathe in,
yes,
and down and we breathe out.
Yes, so you breathe in as you slide up, and then you breathe out as you slide down. And you will keep going until you trace your whole hand. Okay, so are you ready? Eleni, do you have your hand out? Yeah, okay, me too. So so we will do that twice, okay? So take your index finger, and we're gonna start by, you can't see my finger, where am I? Okay, there you go. So we're gonna breathe in and out. In and out. In and out. In and out. In and out.
It's quite easy to do, isn't it? Because we have this to guide us.
Yes, yes, that's right. Thank you, everyone. Hope you like that. You can do it like more than twice a day. You can practice with both hands if you want. I'm going to move on. This is a muscle relaxation. It's called progressive muscle relaxation, and it's how we can relax all our body parts of our muscles or our muscles. As you can see, this is the posture lying down, and we will have a link to an exercise like this for you to try out. We will send it after the webinar. And as you can see, it's about finding a quiet place where you're not being interrupted. Lie down on your back or sitting upwards on a chair. You don't have to lie down. And you breathe in and you tense a muscle group for 5 seconds. Then you breathe out and you release, and then relax the muscle group. it's about, I guess, releasing and relaxing some muscles in your body. It's guided most of the time, so someone will guide you for this exercise online. So I guess it would be an easy thing to try. And it will be very interesting, I think, to notice the difference between how your muscles feel when they are tense and when they are relaxed. And I think this is the purpose of this exercise anyways. Yeah, so we are still in the orange and red zone strategies, and these are some grounding techniques that you can do. Some of them are quite playful, so you can try it with friends or anyone you want to, your family. So this is the ABCD. You can think of categories such as films, books, countries, foods. I sometimes do it with animals, or something that you can name your surroundings, you know, if you're in a room. And then you need to find these words or these things of its category that start with specific letters such as A, B, C, D, E. You can choose, you can mix and match. You can also make it your game. It could be quite interesting. And then, oops, sorry, what happened here? And yeah, and you can do the same with colors, the colors game. Maybe if you're in a room, you can find things that have the same color. And oops, what's happening? Yeah, sorry about that. Yes, you can find things, sorry, in the same room that have the same color, or even different colors. I don't know what your imagination where it can go. And we have another exercise that maybe Eleni, you can introduce the exercise to us.
Yeah, sure. So the slight difference between breathing exercises and grounding exercises, with the breathing, we're really trying to trick our body back into feeling calmer. And like we said earlier, our amygdala is going to give us the signal that there's danger there. So all of these uncomfortable sensations start. And what we are trying with our breathing is to change to change our physiology, basically, so that we feel calmer. With grounding techniques, what we're trying to do is we're trying to take our mind away from the anxious thoughts or the negative thoughts, which are really they really have all of our attention. And a way to do this is to try to really be present in the now, so not to be thinking about the past or the future, our worries and the things that didn't go well, and try to really focus on what is happening around us. An exercise that could be useful for that is quite easy to remember, is to find things around us using our senses. So 5 things we can see, 4 things we can feel, 3 things we can hear, 2 things we can smell, and 1 thing we can taste. And of course, we can switch things around, but the way that we thought to introduce it this way is because, of course, it's easier to find things to see than to find a lot of things to taste, especially if we're in school or we're doing something and we can't go to the kitchen and try a lot of nice snacks. So let's have a go at this together. So try to sit back and relax and really be present in the room so that you can notice things around you. So the first thing is to try and notice 5 things that you can see. So as you're looking around the room, find 1 thing at a time and try to pay attention to the object that you're seeing. So maybe the first thing that you can see, what colors stand out to you on the item? Try to notice things about the object, about the surface. What would it feel like maybe if we touched it with our hand? And then we can move our eyes around the room and locate even more objects. taking our time thinking about each of them. And if our mind goes away from the activity that we're doing, we can gently try to bring it back to the activity that we have said we will do. It's okay for our mind to wander. We can gently bring it back to what we're doing. Let's give it a go also with 4 things we can feel. So use your hands or other parts of your body, whatever you would like to try. Place them on an object and try to think about what it is that you are feeling in your hand. How does it feel? Is it soft? Is it nice on the touch? What does it remind you of? Is it comforting? Or is it annoying? And then you can move on to another object and see how it feels. Of course, it can also be a part of our body. So maybe we can touch our knees or a softer part. Yeah, so this could be a way of going around our list with using our senses and focusing really on our senses so that we can get distracted, get our mind off the negative things that we get stuck on at times. This is something that can be really, really useful if we're getting overwhelmed. It is something that we can try anywhere we are. Of course, if we don't have to keep responding to somebody while we're doing. We can even take a moment to do this when we're writing our exams, because we can calm down and then we can go back to what we were doing. But also we have seen that it is a lot more helpful when we have tried practicing it at least a couple of times when we're feeling relatively okay, so that we find the way of doing it that works for us. It is an exercise that we can change, and we can increase maybe the things that we notice in each of the sensations. We can make it work for us, but it is a lot easier if we have practiced this before. Yeah, so that was the senses exercise.
Nice, I like this exercise. Okay. So as I think we're coming towards the end of this webinar, we would like you to create a list with what you can do to cope with your difficult emotions. Maybe you can take something from this webinar, something that you found you can do, something that you might want to try to do and see how it goes, something that you're already doing, something new that you have thought that it's not, we didn't talk about it. And I guess with this, you know, could be a well-being coping list, whatever you want to name it. And maybe you can create it so you have it around you, somewhere you can read it, somewhere you can go and have a look of what other things that you wanted to try. Sometimes it's hard to do that when we feel very strong feelings, very overwhelmed. We don't remember what we've thought we could do or what we've tried. So maybe if you have it there as a reminder. And yes, I guess when making decisions seems a bit harder, maybe that list will be there to help you and guide you towards a strategy to make you a bit more relaxed and calm. Yeah, so hopefully you can make your own list. You can think about your list. Maybe you've already got one, but sometimes these strategies are not enough when we have them and we try them. and if we see that it's, you know, it's not happening for us, maybe we can think about who are our allies. You can identify an adult who is easy to talk to and they know you, someone at school, someone at home, maybe some of your friends or people from other places you go to. You can, I guess, speak with them beforehand how you prefer to be supported. What can they do to help you? Do you want to be distracted by them? Do you want to talk about what's going on? Do you want us to go out and do an activity with them? And maybe sometimes it's quite helpful if you decide on a sign or a signal or a phrase that you can show them that you're struggling in case it's difficult to ask for help. Sometimes, you know, you can even text them, and if it's a blank text, then you can, that could be a signal. I don't know, this is what I just thought. You can make your own signals and your own signs, I guess, and phrases. But do ask for help if you feel that you cannot manage your feelings at all, no matter how much you try. And I guess these are some crisis numbers, and that you can call when you feel that things maybe are going out of control, or you don't have someone to talk to when you feel very, very overwhelmed. Some of them are, you can text, you don't have to call, like the Shout, or you can go to Kuth. Of course, you can also go to A&E if you feel there's something going on that you can control. And there are other crisis lines on top. Of course, we will send these resources to you so you can have them. Yeah. And I don't know, I'm wondering, I guess Elena, you're wondering as well, if you have any questions about anything we've mentioned today, anything that comes in mind, you can put in the chat.
Yeah. And also, if you have any feedback for us, if you could write if there was anything that you did find helpful or something that didn't feel helpful and you think it would be useful that it wasn't there or it was there differently, so that we can make sure that we make these changes so that the young people that view our webinar can get the most out of it. So you can leave a message on the chat. We can read it in a bit. So you have a couple of minutes for that. While we're waiting for that, in case anybody wants to leave a message, I guess we can think about yeah, if there's anything else that we want to mention before we let you go for today.
I don't know. I think only about the resources and the handouts that we can send out.
Yeah.
That we will send out in case you want to go back and have a look at what was discussed today here, if you find anything interesting.
Yeah. And if you can, if there, I guess from me, if there's anything to keep from the webinar, I think what most young people have shared is really helpful, is to make sure that we plan ahead so that we are ready for the difficult times when they come. And of course, like thinking that things will hopefully be okay is a really good way of managing difficult situations. But we know that unfortunately we will have times when we struggle. So it's important to be prepared. It's important to have conversations with other people so that they know how to support us in a way that works the best for us when we are in a crisis. It is a really good idea that we have a list of all of our coping mechanisms there, because when we're overwhelmed, it is not very easy for us to have new ideas or to think, oh, what should I do now to feel better? It's good to have it there ready, and we can go to it whenever we want. Yeah, so to be prepared and know also that emotions can be powerful, but also they pass, like the waves that we saw in the beginning of the presentation.
Yeah, oh, nice, Eleni, thank you. What a powerful message to end this webinar. Thank you. And thank you everyone for coming. Yes, and hope you have a nice evening. Thank you.